Disclaimer: this podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice, and it is not a substitute for professional medical guidance. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before starting, stopping, or changing any medication, supplement, or peptide therapy. Today we are going to take a deep dive into a category of compounds known as N-Acetyl peptides. These molecules are fascinating because they combine the unique structure of peptides with a chemical modification called acetylation. This modification has important effects on stability, activity, and biological function. Over the next 45 minutes, we will explore what N-Acetyl peptides are, why they matter, and what potential they hold for human health and performance. To begin, let's clarify what we mean by acetylation. Acetylation is a chemical process where an acetyl group, which is a small molecule composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, is attached to another molecule. In the case of peptides, this usually means adding an acetyl group to the amino end, also called the N-terminus, of the peptide chain. This seemingly small modification can make a big difference. It can improve stability, protect the peptide from being rapidly broken down in the body, and sometimes even alter its biological effects. So, what exactly are N-Acetyl peptides? They are peptides that have undergone this modification at their amino end. Many naturally occurring proteins and peptides in the body are acetylated. In fact, N-terminal acetylation is one of the most common modifications found in nature. It helps regulate protein interactions, folding, and function. Scientists have learned to harness this natural mechanism to create peptide therapies that are more stable and effective. One well-known example is N-acetylcysteine, sometimes called NAC. While technically not a peptide, it demonstrates how acetylation can enhance biological properties. NAC is a modified form of the amino acid cysteine, and it has been widely studied for its antioxidant and detoxification roles. It shows how a simple acetyl group can make a molecule more effective at getting into cells and exerting its effects. When we think about peptides specifically, an acetylation can provide several advantages. First, it helps resist enzymatic degradation. Normally, peptides are broken down quickly by enzymes in the digestive system or in the blood. By acetylating the peptide, it can survive longer and maintain its activity in the body. Second, it can improve bioavailability. Third, it can sometimes change the way the peptide interacts with receptors, potentially improving selectivity or reducing side effects. In research and medicine, N-acetyl peptides have been investigated in a wide range of areas. For example, in neuroscience, some N-acetyl modified peptides have been studied for their potential to protect neurons, enhance cognition, and support memory. This is because acetylation can improve their ability to cross biological barriers, such as the blood-brain barrier, which is notoriously difficult for many molecules. Another area of interest is immune modulation. Certain N-acetyl peptides appear to regulate inflammation and immune response. By stabilizing these peptides with acetylation, scientists hope to develop therapies for autoimmune conditions or chronic inflammatory states. This could have implications for diseases like multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, or even age-related inflammation. There is also promising research in the field of regenerative medicine. Some N-acetyl peptides are being tested for their ability to promote healing of tissues, whether that's muscle, connective tissue, or even skin. By activating pathways that support cell repair and regeneration, these peptides could play a role in recovery from injury or surgery. Athletes and performance enthusiasts are also intrigued by N-Acetyl peptides, particularly those that might enhance endurance, reduce fatigue, or speed recovery. While much of this is still in the experimental stage, the combination of improved stability and biological activity makes acetylated peptides attractive candidates for performance optimization. Of course, not all N-Acetyl peptides are experimental. Some have reached clinical development and even medical use. For instance, N-acetylated versions of neuropeptides have been explored for their role in mood regulation and anxiety reduction. Others are being tested as drug delivery enhancers, helping medications reach their targets more effectively. Let's discuss the mechanisms a bit more. When you acetylate the N-terminus of a peptide, it can change how the peptide folds, how it binds to receptors, and how it interacts with enzymes. In some cases, it prevents degradation by proteases, which are enzymes that normally chop peptides into smaller fragments. In other cases, it allows the peptide to evade detection long enough to exert its therapeutic effect. This makes N-Acetyl peptides versatile tools in drug design. Think of it this way. A regular peptide might be like writing on a chalkboard where the message gets erased quickly. An N-Acetyl peptide is like writing the same message with permanent marker, allowing it to stay visible much longer. That extra time gives it more opportunity to act in the body. Now, let's move into some specific examples. N-acetyl-C-link and N-acetyl-C-max are two nootropic peptides that have been studied in Russia and Eastern Europe. These acetylated peptides appear to enhance stability and effectiveness for neurological applications. Reports suggest they may improve focus, memory, and resistance to stress. While more Western studies are needed, the research highlights how acetylation can enhance the usefulness of already interesting peptides. Another example is N-acetyl-thymosin beta 4 fragments. These peptides are being studied for wound healing and tissue regeneration. Acetylation improves their half-life and makes them more effective in supporting recovery. This is important for both medical applications and potential uses in sports recovery. In addition, researchers have explored N-acetyl versions of antioxidant peptides. These could help combat oxidative stress, which contributes to aging and a variety of diseases. By stabilizing these peptides, acetylation enhances their protective effects on cells. It's important to remember that while the science is promising, many of these peptides are still in early phases of study. Clinical trials are limited, and long-term safety data is often lacking. This means that while N-acetyl peptides might sound exciting, we must balance curiosity with caution. For those exploring peptides outside of clinical trials, safety is a critical consideration. Because these compounds are often obtained from research chemical suppliers, purity and accuracy cannot always be guaranteed. Mislabeling, contamination, or improper dosing could carry risks. That's why medical supervision and reliable sourcing are essential. Looking at the future, N-acetyl peptides could become important tools in personalized medicine. Imagine tailoring specific acetylated peptides to a person's genetics, lifestyle, and health needs. This could allow for targeted therapies that are more effective and less toxic. The field of peptide therapeutics is growing rapidly, and acetylation is one of the key strategies being used to make peptides more practical for real-world use. Ethically, there will also be debates about access and fairness. If N-Acetyl peptides enhance cognition, mood, or performance, should they be widely available? Or should they be regulated like prescription medications? These are the kinds of questions society will face as peptide research continues to advance. To summarize, N-Acetyl peptides are peptides modified with an acetyl group at the amino terminus. This modification makes them more stable, more bioavailable, and sometimes more effective. They have potential applications in neurology, immunology, regenerative medicine, sports performance, and beyond. While many are still experimental, the science behind them is robust and growing. Disclaimer: this podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice, and it is not a substitute for professional medical guidance. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before starting, stopping, or changing any medication, supplement, or peptide therapy. Thanks for listening, keep learning, and stay curious.